Welcome back to Freedom to Learn podcast. My name is Guru Ileshwarapu. I'm the founder and CEO of Silicon Valley for You. For those who are new to this podcast, please subscribe and press the like button. You'll get more content your way. Also, you can look at or watch tons of podcasts that we created in the past, and it's very, very exciting. Today, we have a very, very long-standing our academy student and intern with us, Abhinav Srinivas, and so he's been with us since ninth grade, and now he just got into UC Davis for his computer science undergrad. So we are going to talk to him about his journey and how it started, and his goals and his plans for his life and career. So with that, welcome, Abhinav.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So for those viewers, just want you talk about yourself. I know you're born in Bay Area and brought up here, and also how what got you to coding in the first place, and then so how that sort of transformed into your passion or whatever you call it, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so as Guru already said, I'm joining UC Davis as an undergraduate for computer science. And when I look back into my high school career, I realized that I guess Silicon Valley was really the main foundation of where I learned all my computer science knowledge, and my interest came from Silicon Valley for you. Because before then, I wasn't really interested in computer science. I kept telling my parents I didn't want to do coding. But after I got influenced by the wonderful people that I've met in Silicon Valley, they really inspired me to do more. And it showed me the power of what computer science can do. And I think there was another person also on this podcast. His name is Adam. He was also one of the many people who really inspired me to do more in computer science, go explore more by yourself. And as because it reaches over all the different subjects from biology to astronomy, and it plays a role in pretty much everything. So that's what really inspired me for right now, yeah, majoring in computer
Yeah,
science.
fantastic. Yes, it's a great and appreciate it, and also the feeling is mutual. So you're one of the top interns we had for a long time. In fact, a lot of good feedback we received from the parents and students in terms of um, their interest into coding, and they really, really like your classes and things like that. So
Thank you.
yeah, so basically, you know the my philosophy of Silicon Valley for You, and now that became Silicon Valley for You's philosophy, is that there are a lot of stereotypes in the education system. There are some of them are good, some of them are not so good, and so we all get caught up in that, in those stereotypes. As a student, you, as a parent, myself, I have two kids, so, and then when those things don't happen, we all kind of get worked up, and whether it's going to certain college or getting certain GPA or some SAT score or some extracurricular activities, this yada yada. I mean, so how we just went through all that, right? This whole application process
Yeah.
is fairly tedious. In my humble opinion, some of them make sense, some of them don't really make sense, but you are in that, you know, um, I call it a boxed situation where you're just going to follow that and put it, get it over with it because you want to get into good college. So, you know, um, but the real gist of what you get out of that is essentially, let's say went through all these tedious process of going through the application. Yes, you got into good college, that's good. But is that did you really learn something out of it? In other words, can you put your finger on saying that, hey, you know what, through this process, I mastered this. and now I can apply this over and over going forward in my life, and so that I can get better at certain things. Is there something that you can point at?
Well, if we're talking mainly about like the college application process where we have to write a lot of different essays and obviously provide our grades, SAT scores, stuff like that. The one thing that I could say that I really learned from it is kind of like learning more about myself, because in the essays you're supposed to talk about yourself, write your talents, your greatest skills, your weaknesses, and when you really like ponder those questions, you really learn a great deal of what you know, what you don't know, and what your limits are and what you can achieve. And I guess that's something that I've gotten, and I'm confident in my abilities now because of what I've written down and what I have realized
Yeah,
that what I have done in the last 4 years, I guess.
absolutely. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the way I put it is slightly differently. In other words, that's what Silicon Valley for you is trying to do. So you have to apply what you learn. When you apply, writing essays in some ways, you are bringing everything and say, okay, you are putting on applying that to narrate what you've been doing, what your personality is all about, right? So when you are doing it, you realize certain things and you understood, okay, oh, maybe I should have done that, or I did these things really well, or whatever it may be. So that opportunity, I mean, essay is great, that's good, but that opportunity is not for part of the system. I'll tell you what I mean by that. For instance, you have been teaching, you would have taught what, I don't know, 300, 200 students over a period of time if you add up all the summer camps and things like that. So when you do that, so you are applying everything that you learn until that point, whether it's Python, you taught by Python, Java, JavaScript, and all these different things. That's when you really learn, right?
Yeah, that's
You
true.
probably
Yeah.
would have realized that. So second thing is that you understand that you understand where you stand, because now you are mentoring someone, and that you get the instant feedback right then and there. If
Right.
trust me, I would have, my phone would have gone off if things were not good. So
Yes.
and you would have known that too. And so point I'm trying to make is that that gave you opportunity to apply everything you learned, that makes you more confident in your words. And so that is not there. I call it continuous learning. You have to be mentor and also mentee at the same time. If you stop any of them, especially in tech, you're pretty much out of the equation. And especially in the tech, I mean, other things also, it's possible, definitely possible, but more so in tech, because right now we are executing about 8 to 10 projects simultaneously. Most of the tools that we are using, we haven't used them 2 years ago or two
Right.
3 years ago. And I guarantee you, down the road in 2 years, some of the tools that we use, we probably uh, we might have to update our products to catch up with those things. So just to give an idea, that, but I just thought so that we call that mentorship opportunity is not part of the system. So can you talk about what was your take on it, how you felt when you were running these classes or camps and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. So I completely agree with the fact that it really allows you, gives you a place to apply what you've learned and realize that what you haven't learned. Because when you really teach the kids or the students in the classes and you're like struggling to teach a concept, that's when you realize like, oh, I need to go back and I need to understand this properly. And that's when you also realize that you're still a student and you're still learning, even if you're teaching other students. And that's why that continuous learning aspect is really, it makes sense. It's powerful in a way.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Silicon Valley really provides the opportunity to be that mentor and that trainee at the same exact time. And it just gives a really good place to apply what you've learned essentially.
absolutely. So I guess there are few things here, right? So there is a implicit perception in the world that if I get a job and I don't have to learn anymore. In other words,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the world, right? Now I'm no
Right.
longer a student. So that's sort of applying to, unfortunately, internships also. When I talk to certain geographies, not everywhere, but I'm not trying to generalize. The moment they say internship, that means they think I'm arrived. I'm a professional now. Even professionals have to be students, but regardless, they think I'm just doing a job. You're not doing a job. You're learning via internship, and you're not stopping learning. And so that's part of the message that we are trying to convey, and as part of this program. And second thing is, you have to. It gets to a point where you have to learn by doing. You
Right.
don't just see. I talk to, as part of this business, I talk to a lot of students from all walks of life. People. I mean, I work with now. We work with 150 colleges. We also work with UC Berkeley, for instance. There are a lot of students that are very, very senior people. They're in 30s and 40s. And, um, if you talk to any student, like you included, lot, young human beings, they're fatigued of learning, because you learn a lot. You learn, you
Yeah, that
learn,
makes
and you
sense.
learn, and then so now so you come out of your undergrad and then say, hey, let's do a boot camp for blockchain. You know what I mean? So I think they're at a point where, what happens if I learn this? So I guess the learning by doing is what we are trying to bring, which is early on to be part of, whether it's a mentorship or project development. We Morning to evening, I run these Zoom calls just to run the projects, morning to evening,
Right.
and then so when I talk to different people, the amount of learning you're having, you probably don't see it. Same with
That's true.
mentorship. Those are, I call it, some of the tangible skills and intangible skills. The ones you mentioned is intangible skills. For instance, a kid is struggling. So how do you pay attention, make sure that that kid is getting enough attention? That there is no course for that. You
Right.
can't simulate that. You can't
Yeah.
say, okay, let's do a cover and then put a cover and then come up with the book, right? So I was talking to Chris, after his high school, he went to Germany, and he studied there, he worked there, and he came back now. And so if you any experience, some of these experience that you can only learn by doing it. I can write a book. Oh, you can go to Germany, you can go to this, I don't know, Frankfurt, and then you go there.
Yeah.
I can do all that, but yeah, I don't think you're going to learn anything out of it. I mean, I'll tell you right now. So once, let's say I write that book, you've passed the exam, I'll drop you in Germany, you don't know what to do. So because
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
it's you need that feel, right? So in other words, you guys are at the age here on, you got to learn by doing it. So that's what the mindset. And also, other thing that I like to add is that I can kind of relate to where you're going to be in few years. I did computer science too. So the world, your college, tomorrow when you get out of college, quote unquote, technically they say you are eligible for software job,
Right.
some software job, whatever it may be, like developer or QA engineer or maintenance, whatever. And industry also perceives you as that because you have that letter that states that you are undergrad. You got that, unless you go to masters. So let's say how do you know that you're going to be good in software as a software developer? Maybe you may be a good fit for product management. Maybe you're a good people manager. Maybe you're a business
Yeah.
development guy. Maybe something else, sales. Who knows? You don't know yet because you haven't
Mm,
tried.
right.
And next 4 years, you're going to learn operating systems, compilers, and yeah. Great, they're all good. Don't get me wrong. They're all what. You're going to learn a lot of what's. How and why may not be there. And so that's the other thing. What we are trying to do with our internships now is we enhance quite a bit. We are enhancing Nextclap also, where in fact you should update your Nextclap with all your skills, some of your content
Yeah.
blogs and everything, because we are bringing a lot of companies. They will see you from now on, and you get to see them as well as
Oh,
they
okay. Okay.
progress. it's one of the options. The only difference between this and, let's say, LinkedIn is here we give badges. Badge means we know, we are certified. We know that you did this because we know
Yes.
you did this with us. This is the project you worked on. These are the mentorships you did. This is the blog you wrote, and things like that. So with that badge, there is a some kind of a trust between the employer and Nextlab, which is not there today with any social platform. So, for instance, I can go right now to LinkedIn and say I'm at UC Davis.
Yes, but there's no
They don't even
there's no
check.
proof.
They don't
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
happened to you after all these years. You went to UC Davis. So, so anyway, the point is that we all know that there is not much of trust. That's why there is something called interview, right? If everything is right, what you wrote on LinkedIn, and if that's completely believable, then why are companies drilling these guys, with so many questions and blah blah? I mean, you still have to ask few questions, but point I'm trying to make is they want to validate everything you wrote is true or not. And in fact, they also ask you for the references, and sometimes they call the companies and double check you did indeed work there.
Yes.
So anyway, so coming back to um, what I was trying to say is that it's something you should consider. I call it discovery process. You need to discover who you are before you finish your education, whatever that may be, bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever you end up doing, and you do all that. And if you don't know who you are, you're going to lose
Yeah.
significant amount of time
Yes.
figuring those out. I did that. I know how painful it is because I have to do it at the expense of paycheck. And if I want to try something different, I have to quit this job. I can't.
Job. Right.
And then also mine is a little more interesting because I'm an immigrant. I can't take a chance. I have to leave the country, not
Yes.
job. So so your parents understand, you know what I mean. So that's the other thing that we are trying to bring to the youth, uh, students in college and high school and all those guys, to discover what works for you to a certain extent. I'm not going to sit here and say you're going to figure out everything,
Everything.
but
Right.
at least it's a process. It takes time. Everything I just stated, it takes time. It's not like a discovery process. You
Yeah.
skip semester.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work that way. So you got to start now, and you have to try this, try that. For instance, we are giving opportunities for content creation, marketing, business development, program management. So, for instance, Antonio from University of Colorado, he does program management. He runs the Scrum and sprints and everything. And we are bringing basically the company setup straight to colleges, as if you are working for a company. So you have roles, there are other people, and there is a deliverable, there is a customer, and the whole 9 yards. And so with that, you like I said, you can try different things and say, okay, maybe I'm a better marketing guy. Who knows? If you do realize, then sooner than later you can put emphasis on that. When you get out, you can say, yes, although I did computer science, I have done these things, and I'm more
Right.
fit for that. I'm better off doing that than developing code, and this is my interest. And definitely, if you can show some background and some evidence that you are capable of doing that, they companies are there
Yeah.
to hire you, right? I mean, what do they do otherwise? So they will hire you. Only thing is they need an evidence, which colleges don't give. That's my point. You as a student have to elevate yourself and figure that out. Is that something useful? I mean, is that clear? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially um the fact that you have to elevate yourself, and like it's a big process. It's not something that can be done in like one semester. Because I keep hearing students be like, "Oh, you're going to go to college, you'll figure yourself out there," and they say that they figured themselves out in like a month or two or one semester. After they take one class, they're like, "Oh, I want to do this," but it's really not the case, because after they come out of college, I also see them still struggling, and they're not decided where they want to do what they want to do yet, but they have a degree, but they're not really committed to the degree, and that's something that's very, very, it's not really, it makes you slow in the game, like you said earlier.
Yeah, not only that. See, there are see the the gaps is, see, I know from, I mean, I'm in the industry for a long time. I know tons of people. I know my boss. He did PhD from MIT. He never
Wow.
worked single day in tech.
Wow.
All along, first job he was a PLM, and
Okay.
then it's boom, 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 boom. He grew in the chain of business side of things. Although he's in the tech companies, but he did PhD in computer science from
Science.
MIT.
Okay.
So I asked the question, hey, one or the other, right? Either you use all your degrees and develop some great product, or
Product. Right.
drop out of the whole thing and do MBA or whatever. And
Yeah.
so he jokingly said, that it took so long for me to understand that I'm not fit for tech. So
Wow.
he just jokingly said, but point I'm trying to make is that there are quite a few. I know a lot of guys who did MBAs, they're coding. A lot of people that did something non-computer science, they're coding. And
Right.
then there are a lot of people who did computer science like me, not no longer coding,
No one could.
and
Right.
uh, and they are on the business side. So in other words, if I knew this, or if I had an opportunity to figure this out, and if I had an opportunity by school to give, hey, you try these and see if you are good at being in the being in the business side of things, I that would have saved 7 years of my life easily,
Right.
and which is highly precious. Trust,
Yeah.
because the time and the quality of life what you have is better than people who are in 40s, and because
Right.
you're
Definitely.
energetic, fresh, healthy, everything. So that's what jokingly I say that, right? You 21-year-old guy, he joins a company, and then we say he's inexperienced. He doesn't, we put the tag right away,
Tag. Right.
boom, and he can't do it. So let's say I have to go to Japan and close the deal. He's not eligible because he has no idea how to do it. So when
Right.
would he get the eligibility? He has to wait for 15 years, get, diabetes, arthritis, all kinds of crap. And then he's
Yeah.
taking he's popping pills like nobody's business. And then we tell him, hey, I made you senior vice president. I'm going to put you on the flight. Go and close the deal. And he doesn't want to go. But he has to go because of
Yeah.
paycheck. But the guy who wants to go, we just
Is label him as
don't let him do
inexperienced.
it
Right.
because he's inexperienced, and we
Yes.
don't give him that experience. See, if you give him the experience, he will get the experience.
Right.
We
Right.
just didn't, and then so we just want him to hang in there and trial and error, and then something works, something doesn't work. It just so that is the point of our Silicon Valley for You effort, where now we are working with, as I said before, a lot of colleges where we bring them and then connect them to the real world. So as part of that, we are creating a nice profile as organically. In other words, like for instance, you have been teaching since 10th grade or something. That's the organic thing, which is true. This is a fact. This is not like
Right.
you made up to find a job, right?
Job. Right.
And then you've been doing that, and then let's say if you write the blogs, or if you do some projects with us, if we put them all together, when an employer looks at you, it's a self-evident personality of you. It's not a resume that you made
That's
up
not.
to find a
Yeah.
job.
Right.
So that's the point I'm trying to make. In other words, a lot of times you finish undergrad and they, okay, let's take blockchain bootcamp because there are jobs in the blockchain area. The industry knows that. I mean, I know they
Yes.
need blockchain people. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, they if you have done blockchain since now, 2022 to 2026, and then you have organic profile of that compared to some guy who did just boot camp.
Cam. Right.
I mean, even if he is experienced guy, even if he worked for 2 3 years, you're better off for them than somebody else. Because in other words, what we are trying to do is, you as a student, when you get out, you're a raw student. With our program, you are a pro. when you get out, you already experienced guy, so
Got it.
that you hit the ground the day one. So that's our philosophy behind this whole Silicon Valley for you, for older students like you.
Right.
So
And yeah,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no, yeah, I completely see in that way too, especially with all the things that I've done in Silicon Valley. Like compared to my other like friends, it's not to make like a wrong comparison, but just compared to like friends around me who got into the same college and stuff, I feel like that I am more experienced than them, and they come to me as well for advice in some or certain
Absolutely.
areas, which is yeah, I see that.
See, the thing is the learnings you did unconsciously. For instance, I'll tell you what I mean by that. When I first came to US, and when I had to go in front of people to talk about something, I was freaking out. I was I
Yeah,
never did that in my life before. Never. Not, I mean, I
never.
did in high school, whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, those are all my classmates. I know them, and I was one of the brighter students. So there is that. But I never spoke to strangers. And now I'll tell you, all our interns, you are all we had about 300 plus interns so far. I can tell you right now, without even blinking, you guys can just walk in and be in it, be in the moment. Even if you're not ready or ready with the whole situation, you can handle better than somebody who never did this before. I'll
before.
tell you,
Correct.
I'll tell you that for sure, because
Yeah,
you run so many classes that it's like a built-in, it's in the DNA. It's like a you getting up and speaking in English, right? If somebody asks, you answer in English, just
yeah,
naturally comes out, right? um Whereas somebody is a foreigner whose English is like a foreign language or third language, whatever, he has to think how to form
correct.
a sentence.
Yeah,
So that, in other words, this is in your DNA. This is tremendous because it happened at early days of your life, not much later. If it happens in 30s, then it's like you're trying to train yourself to be that, which is, it's like biking. Kid bikes, you try biking after 30 years. Ask anybody who tried. It's not
okay.
easy. Yeah, I
It's
don't
not
think
easy,
you'll ever
right?
be able to learn biking. I mean, you might be, but it's going to be very interesting. So same thing. So I think that's the benefit you guys get out of this whole exercise of training these people over and over, because it's the being a mentor is a blessing in my opinion. So
Yeah, I agree.
once everything is said and done, right, what do you want to be? Have you thought about it?
Well, that's the thing. I have my ideas of where I want to go in the computer science field, but I'm also trying to explore different areas other than computer science, like economics, maybe some cognitive science or machine learning type stuff. Just trying to figure out other than computer science, where else does my interest lie? So right now, I'm looking right now into the financial technology side as well as like the artificial intelligence, computer science side, and more specifically like artificial intelligence with financial technology, like predicting the stock market, something like that. But obviously that's very specific, and I'm trying to like step back and like broaden my experiences and figure out what I really really want to do. And I'm hoping that I can figure that out in college, especially since I've already experienced a lot of stuff from Silicon Valley and throughout high school. I have good ideas right now, and I want to go explore them in college, and that's what they're offering me. They're like, yeah, take whatever classes, go for it, figure out what you want, and hopefully I really do. Like I really
Yeah,
like what I'm doing.
fantastic. So I'll give you a couple of suggestions, and hopefully it will work out for you. See, thing is, all these are the ones you are talking about, economics and healthcare. Well, these are all domains, right?
Right.
So you want to have the experience. So first, the way it has to be a top-down approach. First, if you can, think about what problem you want to solve, and then you figure out, okay, do I need economics, do I need something else, or combination of both. Maybe sometimes you need socio-economical things, certain problems if you want to solve. And then you come down to the tools. The third is tool, which is AI, blockchain, and all these different things.
Different stuff. Right.
My take is that if you look at those three things, in that order, your problem will never be commoditized. We have millions of problems. There will be more problems going forward.
Right.
You have tons of problems. You get up in the morning until you go to sleep. There are tons of problems.
Problems, right.
And though there's going to be no shortage of that, and there is always going to be n+1 type, situation. So that is what is going to be there. So, for instance, economics, right? In some ways, you know, I can build a technical, I can build a bot that can do all my economic. I mean, whatever is needed for economics can be done. I
Right.
mean, already mechanical engineering, you can see that manufacturing is all taken over by bots, and a lot of domains, right? For instance, healthcare can be commoditized very quickly. The only reason it's not happening because of regulatory situations, things like that. Bottom line is that in that order, the tools are going to be commoditized. It's already happening. If you want to build a mobile app, there's a platform already. You don't need coding
Right.
anymore. And I
Exactly. Yeah.
guarantee you there will be a bot, it will build a mobile app for you. It's going to happen. It just
It's
matters.
gonna happen. You're right.
Yeah. And so in other words, your value is going to be increased by understanding problem, domain, and tool in that order. But you
Right.
still have to know the tool, though. Although somebody else is doing it, you still have to know so that you can guide it correctly. And same with the domain. But the only thing that will never be commoditized is what problem you're trying to solve, right? For instance, Facebook was not there. Now Facebook is there. So whatever
Yes.
he solved a problem, he created tons of other problems. That's a different
Oh,
story.
right.
So, so point is that there's going to there's going to be new. So that's
Yeah.
the mental approach one must have, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that leads you to be a leader in kind of the creator of things, and
Right.
so that this also is not going to happen overnight. It's a process, right? It's going to take a while, and it's so I always say that, right? If the school systems or education system, I should say, they will ask you to set the goals and prepare for the goals.
Goals. Right.
But once you reach the goal, you don't know what to do.
Know what to do next. Yeah.
So the thing is that instead of you set the goal and you transform yourself into that. If you become that, then once you reach the goal, you become that, and then you continue. I'll give you an example, right? For instance, if I say, I want within by October, by October 15th, I want to meditate like 50 times.
That's
Okay,
right.
that's the goal,
Okay.
right? I'll
Yeah.
do 50 times. Okay, October 15th reach, great. On October 16th, what do I do? I don't know.
You
So
don't know what
what
to
do you
do.
do
Right.
now? I'm done. So point is that, but if you take that meditation and mental conditioning as your passion, and then you set that goal and you do 50 times and you become that. In other words, from there onwards, you're going to meditate every day.
Every day. Correct.
And so that you condition your mind better, better as time goes on. So that is the goal. That's the identity change. That now you are whatever yoga, yogi, or whatever you call it, right? And then you have better results and whatnot. And so that goal should help you to get going and then just make you run with it. And
With it.
same with
Right.
physical fitness, same with anything for that matter. So that's my 2 cents in terms of, if you want to structure what you want to do in life, or in career rather. So do you think the current education system help you to identify, what you want to do? And if it did, can you talk more about it? If it didn't, what is missing in it?
Well, I guess like from the obviously I've only been through high school, and I would for that just to answer the question blatantly, I would just say no, it does not. They just really it doesn't give you the choices that you really like. They make you learn certain stuff that you're probably never gonna use ever again, but it also makes sense because it's like a foundation of other subjects too. But I wish they just gave more opportunities, just just gave more opportunities to learn the things that you want to learn, like more specific subjects, stuff that you're more interested in. Like, for example, if I'm going to be interested in computer science, they should try to offer more computer science classes than just like that one computer science class in high school. And if I really like computer science from those classes, I would really understand if I want to do computer science in the future or not do it for college. And everything else, you're making us do it outside of school, which is also fair, but I would say we just give more opportunities, just how college gives, or what I've heard from people in college, they say that college does give you a lot of opportunities. I wish high school also had
Yeah.
that same structure, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with you. So my take is even, so my take is I can speak for myself just like you did. Uh, See, I think after upper middle school, they have to give option for student to choose the paths. And
Right,
so, and the current system, the way it is, can be one of the options. For those it's working, for those they just stay with it. For those
right,
it's not interesting, under challenging or over challenging. You need an option. For instance, as you correctly said, let's say if you want to be in computer science, make you do more computer science, less geography. Why do
that's
you need
geography, right.
geography? Because I mean, I did in middle school. That's good enough. I mean, okay, how much am I going to learn in geography? I mean, no, I'm not going to be an expert in geography, and
Right,
I don't think I am right now. But they made me do so many times, like, and I 100% agree with you that from high school onwards, or even in my opinion, upper middle school onwards, they have to give option of, okay, you know what, if you don't like geography, make up that score in computer science.
computer
You're
science,
saying that
right.
is your interest. Somehow the aggregate score should be whatever, but it doesn't have to be in every subject that whether that person likes it or not. So
That's
I've been
not
through that,
correct.
and I mean, I was good in math, and I really obviously I like math, and a lot of people like me they like math because there's a logic in it. And
Right.
once that didn't have logic, I never liked it,
I
and
never, yeah, exactly.
yeah, I just don't like memorizing, and but well, I had to memorize, and um, I did worse things like I did tinsmithy and carpentry and
Oh, wow.
just crazy. I joined computer science. They made me do I forgot some of the iron thing, hammering and all that stuff. God, no, I mean they threatened us if I don't show up, I fail, and so
Yeah,
there is a
that's
yeah. So I guess the point is that um, and the other day I was talking to a bunch of students. You know, there is a formula called a square plus b square equals c square, right?
okay.
And
Right.
you all know, you know it, I know it. And then
Yeah.
so if I ask you right now, who uses that formula in the real world?
No
You know,
one,
I mean,
unless you're
everybody
like in a
answered triangle,
specified field. Right.
right? So I told them just to make them comfortable. Not only you, I also don't know the answer. Not that I have to know the answer, but the point is that I live longer than you guys, and I learned that 7 times, sixth grade to undergrad. Every year, I have to go through the same formula. If I don't, I fail. And then if so, now if I go through, what happens? I pass. What happens if I pass? You just go to the next grade and do it one more time. So
Right.
and then now is it NASA is using, or civil engineering people use, or construction, some idea, right? So that in the earlier Chris was saying, there is a purpose. When you have a purpose, your drive and your sense of urgency, everything, energy is all going to be different than I just have to do it so that I get few. I just have to, otherwise you fail.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, it's like a hostile environment where just do it. I told you so. More or less. And then I did tons of subjects like that. None of them my worst thing is I'm really less than mediocre in all those subjects because American history, I
Yeah.
can't name 50
Exactly.
states even now. I mean, I just have to if I have to go through it, and then they made me do all that. I just do it. I drop, back in India we used to say drop through your nose on the test exam paper and get it over with it. and you work very hard to wipe out all those from your memory. So that's
Yeah.
what I did over and over 20 years. Now I just don't know. And every time I go on a trip, I have to again Google myself and then figure it out. And then I feel like I'm an uneducated guy because although I'm supposed to know all this, and some guys when I talk to them, they say, "Oh, I studied in this school. You didn't study?" I don't remember. I don't remember any of them. So even the calculus, right? Now we use in AI. My calculus knowledge is wiped out long time ago, and because they never gave me a purpose. For instance, if they told me they couldn't have told that by then, but you do the calculus, you do this trigonometry, you do algebra 1, algebra, you do this, and this is the application. You do this is the application. That drives me. And then in that reverse order, okay, this is the application you need to know, algebra 1.
Right.
And then that stays in my mind for good. And algebra can change if it changes, but the application the application side of things, and I always give this example, right? Python is going to change by the time you get out.
Yeah,
Maybe
correct.
Python 4.0, or I don't know where it is at now,
Yeah,
5.0, God knows. But what the applications you develop, the problems you solve are going to stay with you for your life.
that's true.
All the tools are going to be way different. And for all
Correct.
you know, you may never have to use Python. Who knows? Uh,
Right.
I mean, they might come with blah blah, and then that takes off, and then you all, oh, do you know blah blah language now? I mean, right? That's a
Right.
bandwagon here, right? So, uh, and then for instance, I can speak for myself. I mean, I dealt with something called COBOL. Okay, by the way, so I was
Okay.
supposed to be good at that. Nobody. I mean, there are few people that uses it. It's pretty much out of commission, more or less.
Nice.
And but my knowledge, my skills, the syntax, I mean, it's pretty useless. But the work I did with COBOL, certain applications I developed, that helped me through my career. If I didn't do that, if I just knew COBOL, I would have been in big trouble. And
Trouble. Correct.
that is the point of Silicon Valley for you, is to you learn and you quickly apply.
Why?
So yeah, and I think so with that, like, do you have any advice for upcoming students, who are aspirants into technology or going into colleges, things like that? Anything that you want to share?
Well, I guess the first thing is don't try to aim for just getting into that good college. That's not like the way to learn. If you keep being, if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do this because of this college. I'm just gonna do calculus because they're making me. If you look at it that way, it doesn't, you really don't learn anything, and you just forget it quickly. And that's when it comes back to the point of applying yourself, right? If you look at it in the way that, oh, this is interesting, let me try using it in this way. Or you take, for example, if you learn computer science or high school, instead of just learning computer science just for like the job, if you learn it for trying to solve a problem, then that's when it really sticks with you. And that's what's really important, or that's what I would tell myself. Don't just look at it for the college. Do it because you want to do it. Do it for learning, and do it for solving a problem, or do it because you want to help someone, or whatever the reason is. Just don't do it because they're making you do it in that sort of way.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I mean, it's not that easy to implement, but hopefully,
Right. But
it's sort of they practice that over a period of time and get to a point they see the purpose of learning.
correct. Yeah.
And then and so yeah, so with that, I usually end the podcast with a fun question, like, what is the piece of technology that you think you like to see that doesn't exist today?
Okay. Well, a piece of technology, I would definitely
It can be fantasy also, right? Star
fantasy
Wars type thing.
also. Star Wars type thing. Well, I guess I would really love something like I know it's coming out now, but like more evolved version of augmented reality. Some like those Google Glasses type thing, but much more into the future, where you can just real world with technology and overlay on top of it. That would be insane. Like having just look, you can have everything on your in your vision, but also more stuff added onto it, not just reality. You can have the virtual world on top of your real world.
Yeah.
That's something that companies are trying to do right now, but obviously having like a much like into the future version, that would really it would help in a lot of different ways. It's also really cool.
Yeah, it's cool, and also for me, it's fairly scary too.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
true.
want to know too much into my future. So, but yeah, it's a cool thing you mentioned. So, in fact, we are launching a 3D plus metaverse. Oh, by the way, you used to teach 3D too, right? So,
Yeah,
3D plus metaverse. Sometime next week or following week, we partner with the company. So by the way, now we partner with about 15 companies, not only us teaching, youth. I mean, these are for slightly older students, 14 and above.
yeah.
So our companies also come and train them. So as part
Wow.
of that, we have a training set up next week by one of our partner companies to train them to build AR type solutions, 3D plus metaverse, and then you
Right.
can come out with the games that can run on any your phones. So, so yeah, and I think I'll tell you the one thing though, when it comes to technology and everything, it's interesting times, no doubt about it, and everything and everything and anything you guys are fantasizing or imagining, they're going to happen.
But,
There was a time, when we used to imagine and then we used to laugh and say, okay, never mind. So yeah, and yeah, so there's some of the things that people are thinking at least is, I want to be able to go to India in an hour time. I love
now, Tim,
traveling,
right.
by the way. So that they can just work from home or just go every day, commute every
Yeah.
day to India to work. So those sort of, in my opinion, those are needed because that kind of eliminates these boundaries that put out by political and some of these other entities that we don't have to deal with, because as a humanity, you know we are on this planet and we should be able to go anywhere and interact with anyone, right? that's the that's
Correct.
what God told us to do.
Yeah.
So now we created all these boundaries, and then you can't come here because you're that, you're this, and then all that nonsense, and we are creating a lot of stress to ourselves, not to anyone else. And so with those kind of things, potentially they can eliminate all these things, and it's sort of better than what used to be back when I was coming to US. It's almost like, going to America is, I mean, I'm giving exaggerated version, but it's almost like going to a different planet, because first of all, it's very hard. Secondly,
Right.
you had no clue. There was no internet, there was no Google, nothing. There was nothing. So you don't know what happens after you land there. And it's
Right.
really scary. It's out of adventure. And then you get here and you try to adjust and you're overly worried. And then I remember after I landed in US, it took 1.5 months to make a phone call very first time to my parents saying
Wow.
I'm here, I'm safe. So since then, the whole thing changed upside down, right? The world is somewhere else,
Right.
right? FaceTime.
Right.
My
Yeah.
mom has WhatsApp. She's 75. So, and then, the world has changed, but unfortunately, schools and college didn't change.
They have not. Right.
I mean, you're in Davis, I was some other college just like you did, and I was on campus. I had to spend 4 years, and they give you that letter. They're going to
Right.
you as well, and nothing changed. That's bizarre, and it baffles me. The world is somewhere else, right? It's like people are talking about going to Mars and all kinds of things, and
Things,
electric
but
cars,
correct.
self-driving cars, and everything is changing. College is still saying, "Oh, hey, you're not here. You're not graduate." Okay, I don't know. I'm not gonna. So even industry changing a bit, but I don't know. But still, it hasn't changed fully yet. So a couple of things, right? With that, we'll end this podcast. One is Apple. Tim Cook did a if you Google Tim Cook, Apple, colleges and things like that, I mean, just use those three words
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you get the article. Half the employees of Apple in that year, whenever he announced, didn't have 4-year degree.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard of that too.
Yeah, Tim
It's
Cook himself saying that.
right.
And there are quite a few companies nowadays. I mean, me, for instance, more, I mean, 90% of my employees don't have an
Right.
undergrad program. They're doing extremely well. And then a lot of companies are changing, but there are still companies, they still look for that checkbox item. Oh, you don't have a degree, or that means,
You're
whatever,
not
you don't
qualified
have
or
a college
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
degree or whatever. So other Kish, I did the podcast. He put it very nicely. He got a call from Amazon. He just joined Amazon a month ago. He got a call from Amazon because of the degree he obtained from University of Texas. But
Mm.
actual interview, to get to the actual interview, none of his courses helped.
Wow. None of his
You
courses
can see
helped him.
that podcast, Kish, and so that's where the world is right now, and more or less. I mean, I'm pretty sure a few subjects will help. Even if they help, my take is that they train you what? They train you on what?
Correct.
They don't train you how
Right.
and why.
Why? Yeah.
I mean, I interviewed a guy from Purdue, computer science. That guy never heard a word unstructured data. He never
Oh,
heard.
wow. Not a word.
No, no. Whether he knew or not, secondary. He never heard the word. He never
Oh,
heard the
okay,
term
okay.
unstructured data.
Yeah,
I
structured
was
data.
like, what? I called his dad. He works for Cisco. I told his dad, hey, he just lost $250,000. Pay $1,000 and put him in some data engineering camp or something. Because so anyway, um, hey, it's pleasure talking to you. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we do is this series of podcasts. In the next podcast, we take maybe one of the projects you worked on, and then we go deep down so that you can sort of present that for the benefit of you to see what you're doing and what you did. This is like an introductory thing, so we sort of went horizontally from your childhood all the way to where you are now.
Sure now.
Then we
Right.
go deep down, and then so I will reach out to you anyway. We'll be
Yeah, for
talking,
sure.
and then you have class on Saturdays anyway, so we'll be talking to you more. And but I will invite you again at some point.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure.
Likewise, thanks a lot.